Hello and welcome to StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigamkar, and today we are going to have a very interesting discussion about a classic dilemma. A classic dilemma of whether to go for economic development or whether to protect our environment, whether to develop infrastructure, whether to create big projects, or whether to go for conservation of our environment, conservation of the ecosystem. How to balance these two objectives? It has become a big challenge for all the policymakers, not just in India, but all over the world. See, we are announcing big flagship projects. For instance, in the budget, we spoke about the PM Gati Shakti plan. We spoke about the interlinking of river. The Ken Betwa river, interlinking river, has got huge allocation of more than 44,000 crore. So on one side, we are announcing big projects. The question that beckons in front of us is all these projects, the infrastructure projects, the road projects, the dam project, the interlinking of river projects, are all those within the scope of green economy or not? So the question is, are we committing for a greener economy or are we ignoring green commitments? So this discussion is going to be a critical discussion about whether India has good environmental compliance provisions, good environmental compliance measures or not. As the heading itself suggests, that in India there is a weak political will for greener commitments. There is a lack of proper monitoring system or proper compliance in India, which is creating problems. So we're going to understand what is the problem with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and what are the changes that we need to bring. In fact, we are going to look at some case studies and examples where the rules have been flouted. In fact, the projects are now in advanced stages, but they are impacting the environment in an adverse way. So let's try to understand how to balance this economic development versus the environmental conservation debate. To get to know all that information, stay with me on StudyIQ. And if you're preparing for UPSC Civil Service examination, then do visit studyiq.com, or you can also download the app from Google Play Store, where you can get all the information about us. Right, let's begin our discussion. As I told you, in the Union Budget 2022, which was recently launched on 1st February 2022, we all saw the budget presentation. One of the important clauses was major river interlinking project are going to be executed. And under that, I told you the Ken Betwa link project has already been approved. It has got environmental clearances, it has got forest clearances, all the clearances are done. And the allocation of 44,605 crore is done in this year's budget. In the budget, it was also announced 5 other river linking projects: Daman Ganga Pinjal, Paratapi Narmada, Godavari Krishna, Krishna Pennar, Pennar Kaveri. Right? We all know about this. But as I told you, what's the big question in front of us? Are all these flagship projects approved by MOFCC, are they environmentally viable? Now, if say MOFCC has approved, they have given environmental clearances, the forest department has given forest clearances, are the private companies or are the people who are involved in the development of those projects, are they following all the rules and regulations? That's the big question in front of us. Now, because if they are following, someone has to monitor them, and that means that's the role of the government. That is the role of MOFCC, that they have to send personnel to the project site. For example, if there is interlinking of rivers and a private entity is doing it, then we have to check whether the private entity is following all the norms or not, whether they are complying to the environmental impact assessment, whether they are sticking to the report, whether they are bringing requisite changes or not, are they going for compensatory afforestation or not. All these things have to be assessed. That is when we'll go towards or move towards a greener future, isn't it? So let's try to answer these questions. As I told you, it's a critical discussion. We are not really following all these things. Why? Because many times projects, first of all, have been rejected due to lack of environmental viability. But then again, they are given clearance on the basis of economic benefits and strategic benefits. I'll give you an example of many such projects which have been approved by the government. The government clearances are rationalized by saying that you can continue the project because it's very important economically, it's very important strategically, but what you have to do is you have to go for some sort of compensatory measures. For example, if you are building a road, or if you are building a dam, if you're going for some infrastructure project, and if you're cutting say 1,000 trees, then you have to go for a compensatory afforestation of 1,000 trees somewhere else. Such examples, right? Now the question is, once the clearance is given, is the private company or any other developer who's involved here, are they following those compensatory measures also or not? That's a huge problem, right? Because see, once I give the clearance, I told that if you're creating a road, if you're making a road, cutting 1,000 trees, go somewhere else, you plant 1,000 trees, then tell me that you have planted those 1,000 trees. In fact, not just 1,000, compensatory afforestation means you have to do something more. But the question is, the private entity pledges that I'll do it, but are they doing it or not? Because I have to monitor it. That is the problem in India, because we are moving away from green commitments. Why the problem? First of all, there is a huge lack of trained manpower and resource. Funds are quite less in the MOEFCC. Now, if you look at the numbers between 2014 and 2019, the MOEFCC, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they have granted clearances to about 11,500 projects, right? 11,500 clearances have gone. But how many officials do they have to see if people are complying with their norms? Less than 80 officials are in the ministry who work for field verification under these green laws. Now, how much would be the number? Approximately, if you see 11,500 divided by 80, approximately 145. That means every official has to check 145 clearances or 145 projects, which is a huge number. Do you think it's physically possible? That means every year a person has to visit at least 1,000 sites. Is it physically possible? The answer would be no. Then what is happening? The rules are being flouted. The private sector or the developer, they are not following the environmental guidelines, and there is nothing to monitor. There's nothing to make them comply also. There are no punitive measures because people are not going there to verify at all. So the MOEFCC is heavily understaffed and underfunded, and because of this there is a lack of effective compliance mechanism. See, now to take care of this, they do understand that they have less staff. The MOEFCC came up with something called as self-certification or self-regulation. But again, this is mostly on paper. That means when the project starts, when the infrastructure is in the advanced stages, if the private entity, the developer, they flout the rules, nothing can be done. So there is very weak compliance mechanism in India. Once they get the clearance, then that is done, right? They simply go and develop according to their will. Apart from this, there is a bigger problem because we are getting into this vicious cycle. As I told you, there is a dilemma whether to go for economic development or whether to go for environmental conservation. How to balance these two things? Right now, we all talk about ease of doing business, which is good. First of all, you need to understand that this discussion is not anti-development or anti-progress, anti-infrastructure. No. See, we have to promote ease of doing business. We have to promote infrastructure. But this ease of doing business should not lead to ease of degrading environment. Right? But right now, that is what it is happening. See, for example, there is absence of a strong political will towards a greener future for maintaining these environmental standards. As of now, the central government, MOEFCC and other departments are incentivizing the states to give faster environmental clearances. Right? But once you give environmental clearance, after that, what is happening? Instead of strengthening the monitoring mechanisms and strengthening the punitive tools, what the government is doing is giving post facto clearances and giving more and more subsidies and SOPs to these industries, to the developers who are involved in these projects, which is quite wrong. See, on one hand, there's no problem with giving clearances. It's fine to give clearance. First of all, you need to understand that clearance is given. But once the clearance is given, it's the government's role to ensure that clearance is based on some conditions, whether the developer or the player is satisfying those conditions or not. Are they fulfilling those conditions? If no, then there have to be some punitive measures which are seldom imposed in India. That's the problem here. If we are not able to balance these two things, then the future is very bleak for all of us, because we all know there's a problem of climate change. There's a problem of global warming, erratic rainfall, erratic monsoon is leading to lower productivity of Indian agriculture. The future looks very bleak if we do not strengthen our monitoring mechanism. Now, let me give some proof about this. Whatever I discussed, let me give some proof about that. See, the Ken-Betwa project, it was considered unviable by several experts. In fact, in 2011, it was rejected. But in 2016, it was given a techno-economic clearance. As I told you, economic benefits, strategic benefits, so it was given a clearance. In 2017, again, The forest clearance was made conditional on compensating about 60.17 square kilometer of forest. You have to compensate the forest that you're destroying for equal amount of forest somewhere else in the Panna Tiger Reserve. Has it been done? Who is monitoring this? Is there any compliance with respect to this? The answer would be no. The environment ministries, it cannot change these conditions, because once the expert have given some inputs, the MOE of CC do not have these powers to change the conditions. But the state government and the Ministry of Jal Shakti, they are continuously asking the MOE of CC to even change this condition also. So these are the things. There is a lot of laxity with respect to environmental compliance in India. Not just Ken Bedwa. I have so many examples. For example, there is a Subansari project. For 17 years, the MOE of CC and the Arunachal Pradesh government, they have been ignoring. In 2004, the Supreme Court put certain conditions which are not met by Arunachal Pradesh and the center. What next? Nobody knows. Same thing with the Dibang multipurpose project in Arunachal Pradesh. There was a precondition of declaring the catchment forest as national park. Despite this final forest clearance being rejected 2 times, Dibang multipurpose project, which is about 3000 megawatt project, it is still running. It is still in progress. There are many examples, not just the river linking project or the dam project. There are many projects. The coal mine, the Kulda coal mine and the Tamnar thermal plant in Chhattisgarh, they have gone through similar kind of clearances. The MOE of CC, the expert panel, everybody know that when you mine coal from Kulda, when you provide it to the Tamnar thermal plant, the coal fields that are being developed by Mahadani Coalfield Limited, the Jindal Power Limited, they transport the coal through village routes. Are they following the rules and regulations while transporting? Multiple exceptions have been made for granting these clearances in the name of national interest, because already coal shortage is a problem in India, right? So multiple exceptions have been made, exemptions have been given, which ultimately puts a toll on the environment. So in the short run, yes, we might get the electricity, we might get the power, but in the long run, it will put a toll on Mother Earth. The Goa airport project is a classic example, right? It's a classic example. The Goa airport, a big international airport is being built, right? Where the compensatory afforestation norm was extraordinary. It was a very good thing. See, for every one plant, the developer was to plant 10 trees, right? A very big promise. In fact, a very positive promise, I would say, because you cut one plant, I'll tree 10 plants, right? I just promise. But is it being done? The development lags 50% behind. That means compensatory afforestation is 50% behind the target. Who is looking after this? Nobody. The compliance mechanism is very, very poor in India. So what's the take out of this discussion? I'm quite sure you are all flummoxed. So what do you want to tell? What is the conclusion out of this? Because we started with the classic dilemma here. Whether we want development, whether we want infrastructure, whether we want economic growth, or whether we want environmental protection. How to balance these two things. And this balance itself is the conclusion of this discussion. See, as I told you, this discussion is not anti-development or anti-projects, anti-infrastructure. It's simply pro-environment. That doesn't mean development should not be there. The simple conclusion out of this discussion is, yes, you can give clearances for forests, you can get forest clearances, you can give environmental clearances, but on the same line, ensure that you have strong compliance mechanism in India. Once the clearance is given, once the conditions are given to the developer, ensure that the developer meets all those conditions. And for that, we need strong compliance measures. We need more people. We need good verification. We need more funding so that we check whether people are fulfilling the promises that they had promised. That's the ultimate conclusion from this discussion. Ensure that we have very strong compliance measures, strengthen MOE of CC, strengthen the verification officers, and ensure that the private players, the developers, whoever is involved in the infrastructure project, they commit to the green future for all of us. With that note, let me end my discussion. Thank you for watching this. Jai Hind. If you are preparing for UPSC Civil Service Examination, you are at the right destination. StudyIQ has brought a great news for you. We have brought a GS Foundation course for UPSC Civil Service Examination, which includes preparation for both prelims and mains. We have also just now launched the Target Prelims 2022. Both of them can be availed in a single subscription. What do you look for when you start preparation for UPSC Civil Service Examination? I tell there are 3 things that you look for. The first thing is quality content. StudyIQ is another name of quality. StudyIQ is trusted by more than 1 crore subscribers today in India. The entire GS Foundation course, the target prelims course, it has been created by top faculties of the country where you get quality curated content for your preparation. The second thing that you look for is a strategy and a direction in your preparation. And I assure you that StudyIQ through the GS Foundation course and the Target Prelims course will provide you with that strategy and direction. We have a structured course. We provide complete general studies preparation, complete GS for prelims as well as mains. What makes us so unique? See, we already have 2,500 plus videos in a very structured manner which you can refer for your preparation. We have a host of more than 5,000 MCQs on different topics which will help you in your prelims preparation. We have a Target Prelims 2022 where we will be providing you with mocks. We'll provide you comprehensive study material like the lecture notes, the crux of the PPTs, the presentation, animated videos, everything, the whole shebang is available. See, we have a structured preparation for prelims as well as mains. We will be hand-holding you through your entire journey of UPSC Civil Service Examination. For prelims, we already have a Target Prelims 2022 crash course. For mains, we will be providing you daily current affairs, monthly current affairs. There is a strategy by renowned experts, previous serving officers. They will be telling you their experience and giving you strategy of how to prepare properly. Apart from that, the entire faculty is there to handhold you. We will be guiding you through mains answer writing. We'll be solving your doubts at each and every stage. We'll be covering a lot of things, the current affairs, the All India Radio, the Rajya Sabha TV, Sansad TV, everything would be covered. Apart from that, the previous year question papers from prelims and mains would also be solved. For essay, there would be a separate dedicated module. So we will be with you together through your prelims preparation, through your mains preparation, and after mains, we'll be there for you for your personality test preparation as well. Apart from general studies, we also offer a host of optional courses, history, geography, sociology, public administration, political science. There are many options which are available here. And the third factor that I told is affordability in these days. StudyIQ is known for its affordability. Our motto is to reach more and more number of people and provide them quality and affordable education. Just call 958004 to know more about us. There are a lot of discounts running on these programs and Target Prelims 2022 crash course has begun. Prelims exam is in June 2022 and if you have not filled up your application, do fill your application as soon as possible. The last date for filling the application is 22nd February 2022. So do call on this number. See you very soon.